Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another TMA virtual conversation with the candidates who will be on the ballot in the November general election. My name is Rich Carter. I'm TMA's government affairs consultant, and I'll be the moderator for today's briefing. I'm joined today by TMA news editor Fran Eaton, and our special guest is Kathy Salvi, who bested 6 other candidates in the Republican primary for US Senate and will face incumbent Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth in the November 8th general election. Good morning, Fran and Kathy.
Good morning. Great to be with you this morning.
Great. With hundreds of county, state, and federal candidates on the ballot in Northern Illinois in November, TMA members and their employees are in a great position to help decide who will represent them in Springfield and Washington, D.C. going forward. Knowing what's at stake, TMA reached out to the candidates for U.S. Senate and requested their participation in individual virtual briefings with TMA members. Senator Duckworth has not yet responded. Today is our 5th candidate briefing and more scheduled in the weeks leading up to the November 8th election. We're going to spend the next half hour having a conversation with Kathy Salvi to learn her background, why she's running for US Senate, and how she can help TMA members thrive and create good paying jobs for the people of Northern Illinois. Now, I'll turn it over to TMA news editor Fran Eaton, who will introduce our special guest, give her a few minutes to tell us why she's running for Congress, and ask her the first few questions. At the end of the program, TMA members will have an opportunity to ask written questions of Kathy Salvi by typing them into the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. Fran, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. It's a bright, sunny sort of Monday morning, and we're only 2 weeks out from the very important election on November 8th. And we're honored to have this morning Kathy Salvi, who is the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate. And as we've been talking in the previous interviews, we had districts that we outlined, and we provided that information on the TMA news website. This time, the district is the whole state of Illinois. And Kathy Salvi, if she were to be elected, would be one of 100 people in the U.S. Senate that make crucial decisions for us each and every day. And so we're looking forward to hearing her views on how she would decide and vote and advocate on behalf of small and mid-sized business persons, and especially for us as TMA members, the whole industry of manufacturing, which is unique. So this morning, we're going to start right away with just jumping right in on the tough subjects. We hope you're awake and ready to go, Mrs. Salvi. Are you?
Absolutely. Happy Monday morning.
Good morning. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. So manufacturers are very involved in a global economy. Even though we have small and mid-sized manufacturers, they compete with industries globally. And so we're looking specifically for your thoughts on not only the big issue, which is supply chain, which involves global connections and all that type of thing. How will you describe your views on international trade? And that's a big topic, but just give us an overall view.
Sure. I didn't know if you wanted me to start off with a little introduction about myself.
Sure, absolutely. Please go ahead. Yes.
Some of your audience may not know me, but I've traveled the state in these last several months, and I love Illinois. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma. I'm a small business owner for over 3 decades. I make a payroll every 2 weeks, and I know how difficult it is to compete and to work and serve my community and also run my business well. Also, as a working mom, having done it raising 6 beautiful children, I'm an attorney by profession, and I believe these times call for the type of leadership that I can provide in the United States Senate. I love Illinois. I'm a 5th generation Illinoisan, and when I see the type of leadership that Tammy Duckworth, the incumbent senator, has provided us in this state, I feel it misserves Illinois' families, businesses, and all voters. And I plan to change that in this election 2 weeks away. I believe that President Joe Biden has taken this country and this state off course from its values and from what is good for our economy, good for safe streets, and certainly for the education of our young. And it would be my plan to reverse that, because Tammy Duckworth votes nearly 100% of the time with Joe Biden and the failed leftist agenda that we have all suffered from. And what has that delivered? Record high gas prices, food prices. You mentioned supply chain issues, an unsecure border to our south, a movement to defund the police. And Tammy Duckworth has voted each and every time for these initiatives, which have disturbed our country, and particularly the economy. We used to be 2 years ago energy independent, and now we are energy dependent. We're feeling it here in Illinois and across the nation. And that, along with the $1.9 trillion spending bill that was passed without one Republican vote in March of 2021, is what's caused this horrific economy, high inflation, and the oppressed economy that we now struggle in. We're currently in a recession. I only expect it to get worse. So with the help of the voters of Illinois, I expect to be the 51st vote in the United States Senate, and with a strong Congress that is not a rubber stamp on the unbridled pen of Joe Biden in the Oval Office, we will right the ship. So I tell people simply, if you're concerned about the direction of our economy, crime in our communities, and parents who have the duty and the right to be in the driver's seat of their children's education, then you must vote for Kathy Salvi for US Senate.
Thank you so much for all that information. We are really excited to hear about your views on specifically now your views on international trade and the issue of supply chain, just a basic views on that.
Sure. So I believe in free trade and also fair trade. If you could look at what China has done, the Chinese Communist Party is one of the most significant long-term threats, not only to our national security, but we are so dependent upon China, and we need to break our dependence on China, our supply chain dependence and our manufacturing needs dependence. And we need to look for additional partners on the Asian Rim in order to increase the vibrancy of our trade with our international trade partners. We need to invest in American workers, American manufacturing, and incentivize the creativity that we have in our American workforce and American manufacturing. And I believe that over-regulating our manufacturing hurts American enterprise and competitiveness.
Thank you very much. Another topic that is very much important to our TMA manufacturers is the taxes and the tax whole system that we have. In 2017, there was a revamping of the system that benefited manufacturers, and it helped us in working with our communities, our employees, and bringing our country as a whole towards prosperity. There is talk, however, of reversing some of those reforms and increasing taxes on those who pay the top individual income tax rates, which often involves small and mid-sized manufacturers that operate as pass-throughs. What are your thoughts on American current tax policies? Do you support any changes?
In 2017, the tax breaks that were enunciated and passed helped advance our manufacturing and our industrial might. They were very good for us. I believe philosophically that you get less of what you tax and more of what you subsidize. And I believe that the policy, there's almost a complete departure in this administration from what is healthy for economic growth. I would not have voted for the most recent bill, which allows 75% new taxes to be borne by those earning $200,000 or less a year, and backed up by the 87,000 more hires in the Internal Revenue Service. I think this is a very bad bill, and it will certainly not unleash American enterprise. It will overburden our taxpayer and small business particularly. It's just a bad idea. So if the idea to crush and take care of recession is to tax more, that's simply implausible and unrealistic, and I will work to repeal that bill.
All right, another issue that is very expensive for our members is utilities, energy, and resources. You touched on that earlier in your intro. Manufacturers utilize and benefit from all forms of energy while making smart investments to become more energy efficient and protect the environment. The future of manufacturing industry and our country's resource security rely on clarity and certainty from policymakers that strengthens our competitiveness. What are your thoughts on the best ways to ensure America's manufacturers will continue to have access to affordable and dependable energy in the future?
We need to make America energy independent again. And on day one of his administration, without any opposition or even word from Tammy Duckworth, Joe Biden cut off the Keystone Pipeline. In addition to that, he made drilling on our federal lands for oil virtually impossible. And in addition to that, our country is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. It exports perfectly well. And we stopped that wonderful flow of natural gas. In addition to that, 2 years ago, in our state of Illinois, we were a 40% nuclear energy exporter. We are now a 40% nuclear energy importer. And so I believe if you look at just the state of Illinois and our entire nation, we need to have an all of the above energy policy, which would allow for drilling of our domestic oil, a clean coal, natural gas, and certainly using our creativity and our might to continue to explore renewables, but we cannot depend upon renewables as our prime energy resource when 12 to 15% of our energy needs nationally rest and rely on renewable energy sources. So we need an all of the above comprehensive energy policy, and that is what will drive our industry and manufacturing forward through this century. But it's insane. Our energy policy right now is just insanity, and it's hurting not only manufacturing and our competitive advantage, but it's hurting every single family here in Illinois. We just have to make the link that it's bad policies coming out of this president and Tammy Duckworth, who's a 100% rubber stamp of that agenda. Those policies are tied together, and she doesn't deserve re-election on many points, but this point particularly.
Thank you. And then the last point that we're also concerned about is how do we fill all of these vacancies that we have in our workforce? We have signs everywhere on all of our TMA manufacturers. They're looking for employees. And one of the key competitiveness challenges facing manufacturers is access to a skilled workforce. Workforce policy should prioritize employer leadership and participation in post-secondary education and training programs. And it should enable more individuals to develop these skills needed to begin or advance their career. How important do you think it is to encourage workforce training that benefits the manufacturing industry? And do you support any specific programs that would promote that?
Well, I must tell you, one of the high points of this campaign has been visiting and touring an amazing alternative high school, if you will, in Mattoon, Coles County, Illinois. It's called Lift Central Illinois, and I even brought the brochure. That's why I stepped away to bring this brochure. It's a fantastic program, and it offers high school students from a 7-county region an opportunity to learn many different trades, including an entire course on leadership skill. The program is run by facilitators. They're not even called teachers, but the students actually, whether they are in engineering and manufacturing, in computer science and technology, in developing software and web design, learning skills that we used to call home economics back when I was a child, as a youngster, but learning how to run a home, run a business from the ground up. Also culinary arts, HVAC, So many different subjects are taught through this program. It's phenomenal. And I think this could be a model for education throughout our state, and I would like to see it. But I toured their facility. They're in their first year. They started this, it's a collaborative effort between the school districts, between private industry, and also private business. It's just remarkable. And I think that this could be a template for where we can go throughout our state. But we do need to have, what do we see in the city of Chicago? And in many areas, we see attrition from schools. Kids aren't learning in the classroom, even the basics. And many children are dropping out. And with that comes the lack of confidence that brings. And I believe that, as I noticed and observed at the lift, the students there are excited to be in school, and they're learning skills that they could take outside of their graduation as 18-year-olds and apply to either attending community college or going into college and having fruitful jobs right at. So I'll use this as my base. Workforce training. We have to care for our young. They are our future, and I think that if we could spark their imagination and encourage their innovation, we will be doing a great thing, not only for the youngsters, but for our future workforce. And as I was at Bettinardi Golf a week ago today, Mr. Bettinardi shared that they had 4 hires the prior week, and 3 of those hires didn't even last the week. We have to show people that, your thumbprint, your signature is the heart that you put into your work and the product and the service that you deliver. And this is something that I would like to do as a United States Senator. I like to say that I want to be the hardest working US Senator that we've ever sent in this state. And I don't want to sleep so that you can sleep better. And this is the type of attitude I tend to bring to my work. I'm an attorney by practice, and I've never defined or looked at my clients by, I don't even know what political party they have or any political party. I just try to serve them as they come to me with whatever need that they have. And I think that this type of attitude is good. It'll be healthy. I think that the rancor and the division that exists in Congress, where Republicans don't sometimes even talk to the Democrat, or Democrat will not even talk to the Republican, disturbs Illinois. And I will take my collegial approach and my optimism with me to Washington, D.C. in order to tackle the issues that not only TMA faces, but so many other of our businesses and industry here in Illinois face. And I'm enthusiastic and excited, and that's why we've built a strong coalition of Republicans, a unified Republican Party, along with many independent voters and open-minded Democrats, to give me a chance to lead. So thank you for your question, and here's my pitch for the LIFT program out of Mattoon. It's truly phenomenal, and it was one of the high points of my campaign to see a program that works and is effective and could help bridge the gap between our workforce and what we're trying to do with our schools.
Well, we're delighted you got to visit with one of our TMA board members, Mr. Bettinardi, and we also would invite you to come into the TMA headquarters in Schaumburg to see the incredible training that they're doing on for manufacturers. We have excellent program there. That's one of the specialties. And we'd love to have you come and visit at the best time that you can. I'm going to toss this back over to Rich, and he's going to follow up with some questions coming directly from our members. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you very much, Fran.
Thanks to both of you. And as Fran mentioned, now it's time for questions and answers with TMA members. For those of you on your computers, or if you're using the mobile app, you can type your question and submit it through the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. I'll read the questions and ask Kathy to answer them. In the meantime, I'll ask Kathy the first question that was pre-submitted by a TMA member. The question is, on the November ballot, voters will again be asked whether or not to amend the Constitution. This amendment, known as Amendment 1 or the Workers' Rights Amendment, would establish a constitutional right for employees to collectively bargain and would effectively ban right-to-work laws in Illinois. How will you be voting on this ballot question, and why have you chosen to vote that way? Kathy?
It's a bad bill. It's a bad amendment. It'll hurt business. It'll hurt workers. It'll hurt competitiveness. And I'm a strong no.
Great. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please type your question on the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. I'll read your question and ask Kathy to answer it. We do have another question submitted from a TMA member. The question is, other than hiring, one of the key challenges manufacturers face today is getting access to the materials we need to manufacture our products. Is there anything Congress can do to ease the supply chain disruptions that are impacting us? Kathy?
Well, we need to have the infrastructure dollars need to support and expand and develop our ports. We've all seen the pictures of the ships waiting to come to port and leaving a port. I think that this is a tragedy and it has to be changed. And I'd like to unpeel the onion and determine how we could best improve our port system and our competitiveness there. I also know that many times when our goods go out to other countries, particularly China, that mid-ocean, we may get a call canceling an order or changing the terms of an order in order to try to gain an unfair advantage. This practice is unacceptable, and it's another measure that I've learned about and I've identified, and I'd like to learn a way to discourage this type of unfair trade advantage.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please type your question on the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. Moving on to the next question from a TMA member. The question is, last week, the Biden Labor Department issued a proposed new rule that would prevent companies from hiring independent contractors, skyrocketing costs for businesses and forcing them to freeze hiring. What are your thoughts on this proposal that would destroy the gig economy? Kathy?
This presidency and his ally, Tammy Duckworth, has oppressed Illinois and American manufacturing and industrial might. They overregulate and they are using every arm of our bureaucratic system in order to impose and to oppress the inventiveness of our industrial and manufacturing core. I scratch my head and I wonder, somebody said, Kathy, you need a campaign slogan. I'd say, stop the insanity, maybe. But what I've learned is it's very difficult for industry and manufacturing to have such a philosophical difference between administrations. And I think that we need to find a way to release and to open our industrial and manufacturing might, because I'm told and I believe that too many times we're dealing with whether it's our tax regulation or the EPA or a workforce restriction or regulation, as this is, and it where do you begin to just run your business and run your business and move forward? Government should not be an impediment to industry and our manufacturing might. And it has become so under this administration. And I think you said it best when you invited Tammy Duckworth to work with you and to listen to you. She is tone deaf to the issues that your membership of the membership of the TMA. And so I expect to lean on you a lot, listen to you a lot, and I hope you have the 24/7 rule with me, because when I have issues that touch the members of TMA and and what is good for TMA is good for the moms and dads and small businesses that rely on you for jobs. We need to keep industry and manufacturing strong in Illinois. And I think the tax burden we have is the 51st tax, the 51st state in the nation with overall tax burden, certainly does not encourage business in industry here to remain. So I want you to know I'm an ally and will remain an ally, and also a trusted friend, somebody who will have to lean on you for the right answers, because I believe in life, if you get good information in, you'll get better results out. So I expect that in this most recent question, whomever answered it, there's a philosophical difference between the president and his administration and what is in the best interests of small business and medium-sized business and those who comprise your membership.
Thanks, Kathy. We have one final question in the queue from a TMA member, and that question is, what are your ideas to help reduce healthcare costs for employers and their workers? Kathy?
Certainly socialized one system medicine is not the right idea. And I believe that it's interesting you should say that. We need to, if you look at the standard of living, since 2019, I believe that we have, since the Obamacare was instituted, it has had the reverse effect. And I believe that we need association plans. We need to create a competitiveness within our healthcare system, which will benefit those who are served by your businesses. And certainly a one system, one socialized healthcare is not the answer. And I would oppose that at every point. Again, in meeting with your members and what their employees and staff undergo, I think that I would work toward association plans and look at the devil's in the details. Look at how people would have the ability to have affordable pharmaceutical care and affordable health care without making health care overburdensome for your employers.
Thanks, Kathy. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Kathy, do you have any closing thoughts for TMA members? Take about a minute or so.
I need every one of us to get out to remind people to vote. This will be a historic election. And I'm really excited because I don't think anyone in the nation thinks that Illinois could return a Republican United States Senator, but they're not seeing what I see across the state. And I think that this will restore a lot of confidence and hope in our electoral system, that a committed professional mom, wife, business owner who loves Illinois, fifth generation Illinoisan, raised in Waukegan, Illinois. So I love to say that our people in Illinois are the salt of the earth people. We're hardworking, we're committed, we're direct. And I think that we've been underrepresented in the United States Senate these last 6 years. And as Mary Ann Ahern said, what has Tammy Duckworth done in the last 6 years? She couldn't even think of anything. She said nothing. Nothing. And we deserve more than that in the United States Senate. So I would suggest let's bring some balance back. I think a Republican and a Democrat US Senator will serve our state very well. I'll ask the questions that need to be asked and answered and demand accountability from this president. So let's right this listing ship of Illinois and let's put us on the map and keep our families and our businesses here in Illinois rather than like going to what may be greener pastures. I'd like the greenest pasture to become Illinois under my leadership, and I'm committed to making this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. That will do it for today's virtual conversation. I want to thank Kathy Salvi for joining us today, along with TMA News Editor Fran Eaton for leading a wonderful discussion. And of course, we want to thank all of our TMA members who took the time out of their day to join us this morning and become more educated on the candidates who will be on the November ballot. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Very much. Wonderful to be with you. Good morning.